Hi everyone, I'm Dale Smith, aka Journo Dale, and we're here to talk about Canadian politics. It is time to take some of your questions, and they're all coming from the Patreon this week, starting with KR Mar, who asks he'd like to know what the responsibilities are for federal MP and provincial MPPs toward a ridings community as it relates to the protesters in Ottawa. Are they responsible for setting up community meetings with the protesters for their ridings to talk to them, find out what their concerns are? Not really. In this particular case, these protesters are not really protesters. The thing we have to remember with what's going on right now is that this is an event set up by extremist organizers who used the truck mandate as a convenient hook for them to go and stage an occupation. And this is something that they had been planning for months, and they just found the right trigger for it. And everyone started flowing in to support it, not necessarily understanding that extremists were organizing it and that this is not about mandates at all, really. This is basically about government writ large. It's brought on by far-right extremists and supported by conspiracy theorists, and the organizers are also grifters, hoping to profit off of all of those millions of dollars of donations that are pouring in. So these are not regular protesters, and they don't have demands that are necessarily reasonable or achievable. The stated goals for this, as we discussed in last week's video, is this memorandum of understanding that they think they can push through, which would dissolve the government and have this committee rule by fiat to eliminate all public health measures across the country, which are mostly provincial, and really nothing that the Prime Minister could really do anything about. So there's nothing really that can, for an MPP or an MP to facilitate it here. This is not a protest over a particular policy that is, reasonable in any particular case. I mean, you can disagree with vaccine mandates, but staging an occupation is not the way to go about changing them. In other cases, yes, an MP or an MPP could meet with protesters to find out their concerns, whichever level is most appropriate. That's, would be fair game. But in this particular case, this is not a protest. This is an event staged by extremists. KR's second part of his question, or her question, sorry about that, is there something public and media can do to facilitate that communication bridge? I'm not really sure what exactly that's asking, because in this particular case, again, there's no communication bridge really. I mean, other than for media to explain what this is in reality. This was an event organized by extremists, rather than presenting this as these are disgruntled truckers. They're not disgruntled truckers. Almost no one in this crowd is a trucker. There are a handful of trucks and their drivers, sure. But over 90% of truck drivers in Canada, particularly those who go cross-border, are already vaccinated. They don't have a problem with the policy. This is a small number that are organizing around extremists and grifters. So I'm not sure what communication bridge we should exactly be facilitating here. other than to properly be describing what this is rather than kind of playing naive and, oh, these are just people with concerns. It's not really that. There may be people with concerns in the crowd, but based on who they're attaching themselves to, that puts into question some of what their concerns really are and how legitimate they are. Our other question comes from Jimmy Carter, who asks, what are the current bills that each of the parties are pushing hard on, and how do you think a Conservative Party with an interim leader will do this session? So for the first part of that question, it's actually still early to say what the different parties are pushing on right now. There's not a lot on the order paper. Private members' business hasn't started up yet. They're still kind of going through those motions in terms of the first 30 on the order of precedent list, deciding what their bills are going to be. There's a committee who needs to go through them and see that, yes, these bills are votable or not. So that's process is still happening right now. And I'm sure a number of MPs are going to talk about these private members' bills they're putting forward. Most of the time, those bills will never see the light of day, so it's still too early to necessarily say what those are going to be, but we'll find out in the next few weeks. As for government bills, there's not much that's on the order paper right now. They've got a COVID bill they're debating right now. There's another bill to request money for more rapid tests. They've got their bill on mandatory minimum sentences, and they've got their Broadcasting Act bill, which is going to be hugely controversial again, like it was in the previous Parliament. But that's really all that's on the plate right now. So it's still too early to say what's going to be pushed on the most. As for the second part of that question, what's it going to be like with an interim leader? I don't know that we'll notice much of a difference, at least off the start. This particular interim leader, Candace Bergen, seems to be fairly pugnacious in terms of what she's going to be pushing on. I mean, she's going to bat for the grifter occupation pretty hard. And she's so far left most of the MPs in their current critic roles, but we'll see how that shakes out, particularly once more of them start declaring themselves leadership candidates. We just saw this weekend Pierre Poilievre is going to be the first one out the gate, so he's going to have to give up his finance critic portfolio as a result. Those are going to shake themselves out again over the next few weeks. So we'll kind of get a sense of how that will start playing out. But generally, I don't think there's going to be too much of a difference. The party, I don't think they're going to stake out any particular positions that will be hard for the permanent leader to get themselves out of once that process is underway or completed. Who knows how long that's going to be? That could be 9 months away at this point. So I think it's going to be just a lot of business as usual. I think the tone might be a little different. Bergen is fairly pugnacious and fairly bombastic much of the time. But on the other hand, the question period on Thursday, where that was her first one as interim leader, the tone was very calm and measured all the way through, which was a very different change of pace than what we're used to. So we could see more of that, or we could see a lot of dramatics and performances. So we'll see. We'll see once they start feeling out their roles a little more, once they start getting a sense of what they're hoping to accomplish over the next few months. And we'll kind of go from there. It's something where it's early days for a lot of this stuff. So we'll just kind of keep our eyes on it for now. And that's everything for this week. Thank you for the questions. Join us again next week for some more Canadian politics. I'm Dale Smith. That's at journo_Dale on Twitter. And don't forget to like the video, share, subscribe, and support us on Patreon. Thanks, everyone.